There was something strange about that shadow, standing still in the corner of the garden. Dorian felt it. It was as if a secret were about to be revealed, a secret that would change everything. But what was really happening in that familiar place? Before continuing, take a moment and subscribe to the channel. I promise you that this story will not leave you indifferent, just like the ones to come. To understand what happened that day, we need to take a few steps back. Dorian, 40 years old, lived trapped in a life he no longer recognized. Every morning, he woke up with the same sense of emptiness, aware that his existence had nothing to do with the dreams he had nurtured as a young man. A stable career, yes, but grey and monotonous. There was no garden to cultivate, no family to return to, only the silence of a house too empty. As a child, Dorian loved spending hours in his grandmother's garden, a corner of paradise where every flower seemed to tell a story. The colors, the scents, the wind caressing the leaves. Everything fascinated him. He dreamed of having, one day, a garden of his own, where he could take refuge far from the chaos of the world. But over time, those dreams had faded, suffocated by the responsibilities of adult life. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. Meeting Alma was like a breath of fresh air that swept away the monotony of his life. Alma was unlike anyone he had ever known. Her smile, her energy, the bright colors she brought with her, everything about her fascinated him. She didn't just talk about business, but about dreams, and she made them seem possible, even at their ages. It seemed as if fate had wanted them to meet at that moment in their lives, when they had both lost sight of what was truly important. One day, during one of their meetings, Alma proposed an idea that struck a chord with Dorian. "Why don't we open a cafe in a garden?" she said, with a contagious smile. The proposal left Dorian speechless. He had never thought that such a remote dream could come back to make itself felt so strongly. But there it was, alive and pulsating, ready to take shape. With renewed hope, the two began their search for the perfect place, and finally, they found it. An old abandoned house, surrounded by a large lot. It was neglected, sure, but for the first time in a long time, Dorian felt the energy returning, as if the earth beneath his feet awakened something ancient and forgotten in his heart. The days passed, and there was no shortage of work. Between renovations and projects, Dorian and Alma spent every moment possible preparing that place to transform it into their dream. But one day, something unexpected happened. While Dorian was pulling weeds, he heard a voice behind him. "What are you doing?" asked a little boy with curious eyes and hungry for knowledge. Dorian turned and saw Leon, a boy of about 10 years old with a dirty face, but a look that shone with enthusiasm. Dorian, without hesitation, explained to the little boy what he was doing, telling him about his dream of transforming that abandoned lot into a lush garden. Leon, fascinated by those words, asked if he could help him. "Can I give you a hand?" he said in a thin but confident voice. Day after day, Leon returned. Every afternoon he worked alongside Dorian, learning the secrets of gardening and sharing with him those moments of silent complicity that only manual labor can create. Dorian, who for years had lived isolated in his thoughts, found himself smiling more often, looking forward to those afternoons spent together with Leon. That garden, which had once been only his dream, was becoming the dream of both of them. But there was something wrong with Leon. He never spoke about his family. Alma, increasingly curious, asked him about his life at home, but each time the boy avoided answering. Until one afternoon, during a break, he decided to confess the truth. With his eyes turned to the ground, Leon said, "I don't have a mother anymore. She died many years ago, and my uncle abandoned me." Those words struck Dorian like a bolt of lightning. All that time, Leon had lived alone, in the abandoned house they were trying to transform. It was incredible to think of how much strength that boy had, who despite everything had found the courage to go on. Dorian couldn't believe it. That child had asked for help in silence, without ever saying those words. "Don't worry," Alma said softly, trying to hide the emotion she felt rising inside her. "You're with us now. You're not alone anymore." As the days passed, Leon's life changed completely. Now he had a home, a warm bed, and someone to take care of him. Dorian and Alma had grown more and more attached to that little boy, so much so that they considered him part of their family. But the serenity did not last long. One afternoon, while they were working in the garden, a dark shadow approached the gate. It was Dennis, Leon's uncle, who introduced himself with a hard, menacing look. "I'll take the boy away if you don't give me what I want," he said in a harsh voice. Dorian felt a shiver down his spine. Dennis wasn't there for Leon's sake. He understood that immediately. He only wanted money, and he didn't care at all about the child's future. Leon hid behind Dorian, scared, as if the mere presence of that uncle could destroy everything he had built up to that moment. If you like this story and want to know how it will end, leave a precious like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next exciting stories. The day of the hearing arrived, full of tension. Dorian and Alma showed up in court, ready to fight for Leon. Dennis, on the other side, seemed interested in only one thing: money. The judge listened carefully to both sides, but finally turned to the real protagonist of this story. "I'd like to know what you think, Leon," he said in a calm, firm voice. "What do you have to say about this situation?" Leon, his eyes filled with fear and hope, stood up. "They saved me," he said, his voice shaking. "They gave me a home. They treated me like a son. I want to stay with them." Dorian's heart stopped for a moment. He would never have imagined that this child, once alone and abandoned, could have spoken words so strong and full of meaning. And you? What would you have done in Dorian's place? Would you have fought to keep that child who changed your life by your side? Finally, the judge made his decision. Leon would stay with Dorian and Alma. The garden they had cultivated together, just like their lives, had blossomed again. But do you believe that it's always worth fighting for your dreams, even when all seems lost?